With almost every single day that passes, things seem to be getting worse for Drake, OVO, and anybody affiliated with them, as after Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us has officially debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. The Drake hate wave has gotten bigger than ever, and with each passing moment that Kendrick's hit diss record is making a greater impact and becoming one of the biggest musical moments in years, it isn't just directly destroying Drake's image and forever tarnishing his public perception through its harsh disses and memorable quotables, but the song is also wiping away some of Drake's most coveted musical achievements in the modern era. And after on a song like Push-Ups, Drake said that no matter what Kendrick Lamar does, numbers wise he will never catch up to him. This just seems like another one of the many moves Drake made in this beef that is already aging horribly, as Kendrick Lamar is dominating the charts like few other rappers ever have, and at the same time, from everything we have seen Drake himself do, it's clear that all of the scrutiny and hate coming his direction right now is getting to him in a way that, on top of how this beef has already changed the public perception of him in the eyes of millions, will change the trajectory of his entire career forever, as while we don't know what the full aftermath of this beef holds, what we do know is that Drake has been hurt in a way that will change the way he acts, and more consequently, the way he makes music. So just to put the absolutely historic run that Kendrick Lamar is on right now in perspective, where for years Kendrick remained as the most acclaimed and respected rapper of our time, and Drake was the most popular and commercially successful. Now, Kendrick has crossed over into Drake's territory, as he has been on an absolute quest to destroy some of Drake's most coveted records, and just in the first days of the release of Not Like Us, Kendrick broke the record for the most streamed rap song from a solo artist in a single day, which he stole from the intro track of Drake's 2021 album Certified Lover Boy Champagne Poetry. And on top of this, he broke the record for the overall most streamed rap song in a single day, which he took from Drake again, but this time being his Lil Baby collaboration Girls Want Girls. And considering the strange subject matter of this track, it makes Kendrick overtaking this song even crazier. And beyond just these accomplishments, Not Like Us became the most streamed rap song in a single week with over 80 million streams, which beat out the record Drake held with In My Feelings by over 10 million streams. And topping all this, Not Like Us became the fastest rap song to reach 100 million streams, which it did in just 9 days, and with this record, he dethroned what was held by God's Plan. So with all of these milestones from Kendrick leading him to having the strongest solo charting hip-hop song on the Billboard Hot 100 of the entire 2020s decade, after going head-to-head with some of the most anticipated diss tracks of all time, Kendrick has just stomped on Drake and shattered so many of the milestones that have allowed for him to flex and brag about how strong his numbers are. And while we don't know how this may affect the subject matter in Drake's music going forward, as he can no longer act like he is in this untouchable place number-wise, because as we have just seen with Kendrick coming to play in his own lane, what he has achieved hasn't just been contested by his biggest rival, but Kendrick just straight out destroyed some of Drake's once thought to be unbeatable records by a significant margin. So with all this coming down on Drake, everyone has been watching his every move to see just what he does next. And while Drake has not put out anything new musically since his laughable response to Kendrick with The Hard Part 6, he has been active once again on his social media, with the most revealing thing he has done being his story post that said, "Good times, summer vibes up next," and with this caption and the picture of it, which showed one samurai against an entire army. Here it seemed like Drake was referring to the scuffle he has been in with Kendrick and so many other major players in the music industry, which, while we all know this has been anything but a good time for Drake, just from the way he is once again trying to portray himself as a victim and seem unfazed by everyone turning against him, it's clear that Drake is trying to get his fans back on board the hype train, as he's not just trying to close out this beef and make the absolute horror show that has rained down on his career seem not as bad as we all know it is by calling it a good time. By saying summer vibes next, it looks like Drake is leading us to think that he will have new music on the way that isn't dissing Kendrick or driven by any sort of intense lyrical jabs, and instead will just give us the melodic and fun Drake that has given us so many of the most memorable hits of the last decade. And if Drake is gonna follow up this feud that has turned out to be an absolute disaster for him with music like this, while it may seem like it could redefine Drake's image, it will only make Kendrick's disses hit even harder and seem like more of a success, as he said that he likes Drake with the melodies and wants him to make more music in this bag, as opposed to him trying to portray himself as this tough guy who we all know he's not. And maybe Drake has realized this himself, because also recently, one of Drake's biggest cheerleaders and pretty much unofficial OVO member, Academic, said during his live stream that he has spoken to Drake directly and that he has been told that he is not anywhere near done when it comes to going against Kendrick Lamar. Now, between somebody who has spoken to Drake time and time again in this beef and has had direct information about his next moves telling us that he's still coming for Kendrick, but at the same time Drake is posting himself and acting like he's moving past this beef and even beyond the scope of the feud by posting pictures so casually, and acting like nothing is happening that is altering his career forever. From the conflicting way Drake has talked in the shadows compared to the public image he's trying to put out again, the one thing that is very clear about all this confusion is that Drake is in a state of limbo right now where he is completely lost and does not know how to even come back from what Kendrick Lamar has done to him, because no matter what route he takes, even he knows at this point that he will not be able to escape all of the controversy around his name and the humiliation that Kendrick has subjected him to. From being deemed a liar for saying such things that Kendrick's business manager Dave Free is the father of his son, to claiming he fed Kendrick false information, and then to be proven as a liar about this from a mysterious Twitter user who has been telling the world that he knows even more information that will ruin Drake's image that he's holding back. Drake has been knocked right back down to earth by being called out for the ridiculous ways that he tried to lyrically duel against Kendrick Lamar with, and while with somebody like Pusha T, when Drake lost, he was able to retain his image and success because he could hold his head high over his numbers, which Pusha T just could not match no matter how effective his disses were and how good the music he was releasing against Drake was. With Kendrick Lamar now beating Drake at his own game by having multiple diss records that have outstreamed and outcharted Drake's. He can't even use the angle that he's went to over and over again to push back against his haters and stand tall against everybody else, and with this no longer being an option for Drake. In a way, he's been left without an identity no matter how hard he's trying to tell us that he hasn't. Now, whether it's streamers telling us that Drake is doing great, or it's his own Instagram stories that are trying so hard to convey to us that Drake is above all the drama and controversy, as he was most recently spotted in Turks and Caicos already, just like an NBA player who's at Cancun after a playoff loss. When you read the room of this situation and compare Drake's cocky energy before this beef with the more mellow and passive way he is talking and just moving in general now, despite his best effort to tell us otherwise, you can see that something is clearly off with Drake, and this is because of what's going on with Kendrick Lamar. Beyond even the public opinion, even the numbers have went against him, and as his decade-long reign of holding down the charts and breaking every record is being replaced by a song that attacks him like nothing else ever has. When we look at this all from Drake's eyes, seeing a rapper just annihilate his brand all the way to the point where he has lost in the places he was expected to always win in, like on social media platforms, the opinions of major streamers and hip-hop media, and of course the charts, with all of this crumbling down as we speak. The guy who has built the entire past decade of his life based on optics and perception is utterly destroyed as for the first time in his entire career. Drake hasn't just lost for cutting corners and underestimating his opponents, but he has lost the battle with the one thing he always thought he would have on his side in a world where millions always line up to listen to and applaud any half-baked thing he releases. And now, without being the guy who runs the charts, who's the fan favorite and who can never do anything wrong to mass audiences, the Drake brand in a way is meaningless to Aubrey Graham, and as a result, he is at a point where for the foreseeable future, he will remain completely lost. Now, while rappers have made comebacks from some horrible beefs in the past, as the artist we once knew and loved called Drake has been consumed by this shallow brand that's only purpose is to sell the most records by doing the least, who knows if he will ever be able to pivot from all this and redefine everything about himself as we know it. I think when we look at this beef and see how it's affecting not just Drake, but also J. Cole, considering that the way Kendrick clashed with them is going to cause both of these rappers to change their style and subject matter, as Drake can no longer say he is the best with numbers, and Cole can't say that he'll smoke every other rapper alive. It's genuinely wild how just with 5 tracks, Kendrick Lamar was able to shake up the game all the way to the point where the two biggest rappers next to him have to rethink how they'll make music entirely going forward. So let me know, what do you think about Kendrick Lamar destroying Drake's records and overtaking his success, and how do you think this is going to affect Drake going forward? I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this and the downfall of Drake, and if you want to see my ranking of every diss track Drake, Kendrick, and every other rapper who hopped in their feud released, check out the suggested video.